All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Etheria Restart video. So I wanted to just I've noticed my videos when I'm doing some kind of like theory analysis of like where power creep is going, people tend to have these watch a little bit more. I have a little bit higher retention on those. So I have some theories about this game, and I'm actually going to sit right here in the archive because I want to show some theories about power creep and things to be wary of with power creep. So what I've realized in the ways that they structure characters, there is two forms of characters. Either you're going to get a pure character or a hybrid character. And what do I mean by a pure character? I'm going to use Heinrich as an example. Actually, you know what? He's not the best example of a pure character. Here's a great pure character. Leon is a perfect pure character. She does damage. Lots and lots and lots of damage. She is a damage character. All of her skills are, guess what? About doing damage. Everything. AoE damage, a little bit of single target, yada, yada, yada. That's her job. Another example of a pure DPS character. Rosa. She, with a little bit more of speed down. She's got a little bit added to this. We'll talk a little bit about that in a little bit. So she leaned a little bit into hybrid, a little bit, not a lot of it. Like 90% DPS, like 95% DPS, 5% debuffer, sort of. Maybe 90-10. Ling Luo, healer. All she does, heal, 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 heal. That's all she's doing all over the place with a little bit of immunity. So she's a healer, pure and simple. Let me go with Lily, support. All she does, support. She does this one, what she does specifically in support is speed people up. She makes people go a lot. That is her job. Her support is like, you're going to go a whole heck of a lot more with me on your team, right? If you put Rose on your team, you're going to do a lot of damage to red characters. Done deal. You're going to be critting left and right, and you're doing a lot of damage. Leon, guess what? If you're green, you're getting hurt, right? Like these are same thing right here. Messiah, light character. I'm just going to call it light, whatever. Light character does damage, has a little bit of buffs on himself to make sure he doesn't take damage. Cool. Great. Where things start getting more complicated, I'm going to use Helka as an example. He is a sub DPS that is also a sustain unit. Now, I would argue that his sustain becomes more prominent when you raise his skills up. He's also a debuffer. He also does damage because he scales on attack. He's like essentially, I saw an example on Reddit, Adventurine from Honkai Star Rail, but attack based. He does damage, but he's going to be shielding you a heck of a lot. So he is more of a complex character in the way that he buffs, but it's simply put, shields, damage, shields with a little bit of with also some debuffing in there too, with some stuns. And so he does all three, but doesn't do all three incredibly well, right? So he is more, I would argue that I think he is, if we look at his role, what does he do first? I think he is considered a sustainer, because I think if you build a shield up, then he's sustaining and then debuffing and then attack damage, right? So you want to frame it like that, like sustain, debuff, attack in that order, right? But then, for instance, let's go to the common example, Tiamat. She's not only healing, she's not only dealing damage, she's healing. She's like a paladin, right? So you have this hybrid character who does, right? So she transforms. She's really cool, but I didn't pull her. It's fine. What is what it is. I would have gone with my selector for if I had gotten Rahu, but I didn't. I'm not going to get there. A little salty about that, but this was one point. But like what I'm trying to get at is that she is like a paladin. She does healing, and then she's doing a little bit of damage, like a ret pally, right? Here's another. So I've been thinking a lot about this character, and that's Freya. And there's a reason I've been thinking about her. She is a buffer, but also a healer, with the buffer taking precedence over the healer, right? So when we think about moving forward, right? So she is healing, but it's based on her effect because she needs to be able to land the nightmare. But before that, she is a buffer. She is a buffer first and then a healer second, right? So for instance, like Rahu does damage, but then also buffs a little bit, but then removes debuffs, but does damage. So he's more of like a damage dealer, is a defensive stacking a defensive oriented damage dealer who then removes debuffs. So he's really good in that sense. I think he goes really well with Tiamat. Now, things get more and more and more when we think of these characters, like Mio, for instance, she's just like, I think she's just like a flat deep. She, if we were to categorize her, she's a debuffer and then a buffer because she's giving people speed up and redistributes turn meter, but she's more of like a debuffer first, and then because most of her stuff revolves around debuffing. So why is this really important? So if we think about who's really strong in the meta right now, right? Like if we look at Hellkid, Rose, I argue that it depends a lot on, like Lily, for instance, is one of the best characters in the game. I think a lot of people argue that because what she does is unique to her. She's going to make whoever, like your team, go faster, and then she's going to make one character hit a lot. So she's doing the thing that she's doing very, very well. Same thing goes for Rosa. She does what she does very, very well, which is do damage in both multi-target and single-target scenarios, right? We look at Ling Lo. What is she doing right now very well? She does one thing super duper well. Heal, heal, heal. Guess what? And more heals. Claros, damage, 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 and more damage. Does damage. Keeps doing damage, right? And this is really important when we think about, like, why is Heinrich considered so good? Because you ain't getting buffs with him. If your enemy has him on the team, you like say goodbye to your buffs. Like your Hellkid, goodbye, right? Because he's taking everything away. He's debuffing you. He's stripping buffs. So he does what he does super duper duper well, right? Now, there are also more niche characters like Romoka, who is really good for Doki Doki, like the best character for Doki Doki, which is important. Like there are characters that serve very specific roles for very specific things, right? And I'm thinking a lot about moving forward. How are they going to power creep characters? And I think for some characters, for instance, if we think of Rosa, I'm going to use Rosa as an example. Let's say they release another blue character that does more damage, just more damage, then Rosa will get power crept, right? Because it's just her role. So when we think about pure characters, if someone comes out that does what they do better, then they get power crept. Especially what if the new Rosa is light or dark and she doesn't have any affinity. So then or she doesn't have a weak point, right? It makes her just much more desirable. Or if it's blue and then she just does it better and she's better for Aurora, you know what I mean? That's how you power creep pure characters. But where it gets interesting is how do you power creep, let's just say, Freya? Well, you make someone that can buff better, or for instance, would do a different buff. What if instead of here, you get attack up, but then what if it's also invincibility, right? Is that actually better? Who knows? But the thing is what ends up happening in these characters, these supports, especially with supports, it really comes down to how do you power creep supports? You offer something different. You give someone, like you power creep the support in the ways of the combination of things that they're going to do. So let's just say instead of Rahu, for instance, because he's doing damage and removing debuffs. What if instead of doing damage though, they released another green character that instead of doing damage gave everyone HP up. So he's a buffer and removes debuff. So he's just like kind of like a sustain, but then, he's also max HP increasing. Then that makes what these two characters so much better. What would that do to Rahu? Rahu would then be removed from the team, right? So you're then recombining new things that make certain teams better. You create niche characters that work in very specific scenarios that blow up specific characters, right? Like blow up, but like make them, like, here's a good example. Hellkid. So there's something with Hellkid that he's great in the sense he does 3 separate things. Damage, he's like a bruiser, damage dealer, bruiser, shielder, attack debuffer. What if, however, instead of this, let's think of Aventurine. What if instead they made an Aventurine version of him, right? And instead of they took away his debuff here and they made more ways for him to be shielding people left and right. Does that actually make him better? But they took away his debuff, but made him more attack or like defense. And I'm actually thinking if they replaced Hellkid and they brought Aventurine in this game, I think that would be an interesting way. Does that actually power creep Hellkid? Who knows? Because the thing that I really love about Hellkid is this. Actually, I love the fact that he can debuff attack. I bring him sometimes just for that attack debuff, right? So then it begs this bigger question is how do you power creep very specific characters without just having bigger numbers, right? Like this kind of comes back to then, I mean, you can make them different types, which then they offer in different scenarios, right? But then what happens when you start getting the light and dark characters, like up here, we have this whole front row, right? What do you do? How do you power creep Heinrich?
Easily sneak.
You know what I mean? Like this is why when I think of like when you go for characters, there are some characters that you really have to think about, are they power creepable for a while? And I'm going to tell you, I think there are two characters that truly to me don't seem like they're going to get power crept anywhere in the near future. And that is going to be Heinrich and Lily, because what they're doing is so specialized in that Lily is just making you go a lot all the time, everywhere. So if you have characters that want to move a lot, like for instance, Rosa, she's phenomenal. Lily is not as good. She's good with Leanne, but she's not as good. Like there's a noticeable difference between them. Lily's amazing with Tiamat. Lily's amazing with Rosa, right? So these characters that want to hit a lot, Lily's great. She's not good everywhere, but for the teams that she's really good at, she is going to be hyper specific, and she is a pure character. Heinrich, pure character. Also void, right? Like dark, void, whatever you want to call it. Then, or chaos, I think it's called in this game. Then, how are you going to? He can just take more buffs away. I mean, yeah. Or you know what they could do? They can make Heinrich, who now. So what does that do? What if, for instance, Heinrich now, instead of just you make a new character, and instead of doing, you know, he not only, you know, instead of blocking it, he just removes the buff, but then he gives everyone crit rate up. Oh, well then now changes this a little bit. So then you create alternatives to the character in the ways that they want to operate, right? Like if you had told me, oh, we have a character that gives an attack up buff. Well, then but he does what Heinrich does, but just, you know, attack up. Well, then now I have because one of the issues that I run with Rosa and Lily is that I don't have attack up, right? Lily is just speed upping characters. She's not giving attack up. And if I'm running Hellkit, I still don't have an attack up character. But you know who works really well besides Lily? It is Freya. And why? Because if we look at her ability, she's giving attack up. She's also, every time, because she's giving, where is it right here? Dreamweave. When inflicted with a debuff, consumes one stack, purify a stack 3 times, right? But one of the things that she's also doing is that every time a character, where is it? When inflicted with debuff, consumes, where is it in her kit? Is that she's also moving people forward. She's giving slight buffs to where is it? Dream Guide. Each time an ally receives a buff, their turn meter increases by 4%. Each time an enemy receives a debuff, there's 70% chance to reduce their turn meter by 4%. Each effect can trigger up to 3 times per turn. When Freya receives buffs or debuffs, Dream Guide effect is doubled. So what I'm trying to get at here is then she's moving people around. So is she doing something a little bit similar to Lily? Yeah, she is. Is she going to be better for Doki Doki? Yeah, I think she's actually way better for Doki Doki. But the thing with Lily is she's so hyper specific that but again, I'm not getting that attack up buff. That is kind of important to note, that I'm not getting an attack up buff from Lily, but I am making my characters go a heck of a lot faster. But Freya is giving me that attack up and the turn meter. And so did that make Lily better than Freya? In some situations. Does that make Freya better than Lily? Yeah, in some situations. What's interesting about this game is when you think about moving forward, it's like, what does your roster offer you? You have to think like this. Where are the gaps? So like, for instance, when I run my team, oh, we got a quest done? Oh, cool. Okay, great. Achievements too. Sorry. Oh, wow. Great. Ooh. Great. And then I think we're almost done with Doki Doki. Let me do, how many more Doki Dokis do I need to do? 3 more. Do that. We'll finish it up. Yeah. Okay. We'll do play again. We'll do 2. By that point, I should be able to get 1 more in. So what I'm trying to get at with all of this is when you think about, like, I see a lot of people on the Reddit like, oh, should I go with this? Oh, should I go with this team? Oh, should I go with this team? You got to think about it in the sense of where are the gaps, but then also what potential future characters are going to come out and the ways they're going to power creep, right? And so it's really kind of a balance of, like, Hellkit is just a really good example of this. And I'm going to keep coming back to him. What happens instead of if they do a shield plus defense up, right? Shield, defense up, and then does damage. So that's almost like the inverse of him, right? Like he's shielding, well, not inverse per se, would be healing, but it would be like shield defense up to everybody. And then his, I don't know, first one heals, right? Then he's shielding, healing, and defense upping. And that makes Rahu even better, but he's not removing debuffs. Then Rahu and him become, whoever that is, they become best friends, right? And so it really comes back to is then, okay, what do you have and what do you need? And then what do these new characters offer? I think Born, I'm just gonna call him Born. So this one he's interesting because he does this thing where he converts, he can't crit, but he converts HP to attack, right? Max of self attack. Each attack also deals damage to 30% of his max HP, right? Give him attack, does tons of damage, right? So then, because then he's converting that to 560% of his self attack. So you just want to be stacking attack. And then he becomes a super duper, but he's not critting at all, right? So then, you got this HP, there's a lot going on with him, right? But then, like, if we think about Born and Tiamat, then they really want these characters that are kind of buffing HP percentages, maybe, right? So then it really kind of offers, where do I want to go with this? Because one of the things that's going to end up happening is that you're going to start getting characters that are just, as they release characters, there's going to be hype for specific game modes, like, oh, PvP and this. And I think all that's fine and dandy. But one of the things that I also want to highlight about these kind of games for newer players is that gear beats all. If you have a Lily, but then your opponent has, let's just say, in PvP, Lily should be better than Freya. Should be, sort of, maybe. But let's just say their Freya is way faster than your Lily. Well, then your Lily is garbage. If Lily is on your team and she is not the fastest character in the game, in that whole match, then it doesn't matter that she's on your team because she's not doing what she needs to do, right? Because Lily has one job, and that is make everybody go faster. If she's not going the fastest, then you are running into severe problems, right? Which also kind of comes back to, but wait a minute, like Hellkid doesn't run into so much that same issue because he can shield. However, if he's not fast enough, well, then you're running into more issues because then there's a lot of nuance here in how these things are operating. I'm curious to see what happens. While we will see characters like Messiah, these pure DPS characters, and yeah, they do really well. But I will also tell you, you need to be very careful with pure characters because, for instance, what happens once they release a light unit or another dark unit that does exactly what Lily does, but just now, what if instead of this, she also gives attack up too? Then Lily just got power crept, and Lily is now useless. Not useless, but she is now went from tier 0 to tier like 2. Why? Because there are other characters, like then Freya becomes more prominent, because then Freya is now doing better because there's someone that took Lily's place. And so you got to think about these things moving forward. But at the same time, do I think they're going to just release a character that has more numbers than Lily? No. I think they're going to release hybrid characters that do what these characters are doing, but they do them in different ways, right? And so, because here's the thing, Heinrich right now by himself, we're going to get more people that can do stripping in later stages. Like that's going to be something, right? Like they are not going to not release these characters, but it depends what they combine them with. And also now we also have this color. Heinrich is so good because he can be used everywhere because there's nothing he's weak against, right? Besides light. But that means that there's nothing making it harder for him to do what he does. Lily is the same way. And also one of the reasons that Lily is so good is she's not inflicting debuffs. She's literally just empowering her team. That's one of the nice things about Lily. You just build her super fast and super tanky and then call it a day. Because she's just moving super fast and she's moving all over the battlefield. And you don't need to worry about effect resistance. I just make her tanky and move on with my life, right? But on Freya, on the other hand, she's green, which means the fire units are absolutely going to destroy her. But she also needs a lot of effect resistance on top of some survivability and on top of some, she needs effect, accuracy, speed, and speed first, effect accuracy second, and then she needs some, defense, so she's not going to get one shot. And so you have to really think about all of these things kind of moving forward. Like, so for me, what am I looking for moving forward? Okay, so I have a DPS. So here, if we look, I have red, I have my sustain red, my damage dealer red. Great. I have sustain blue, damage dealer blue. I have support, which can kind of sustain green, but I also have Sonya right here, who will be able to sustain green, as well as my DPS green are right here. I have these two, sustain and DPS, along with my support green right here. Now, where it's going to be interesting is when we start getting damage dealers. So I think Messiah is really unique in the way he operates. Why? Because he's a damage dealer, pure damage dealer that's light. You can slot him everywhere and he's going to do the thing, right? But right now we only have one. You have like Heinrich, I slot him pretty much everywhere. Why? Because he's going to take people's debuffs away, or he's going to take their buffs away. He inflicts wounds, make it they can heal, and makes it they can't get buffed. That's phenomenal in PvE content, right? And PvP content. And so Lily's just making everybody faster. And so what I'm waiting for now, I also don't have any light units, so I'm kind of waiting to see what that happens. Like, I mean, I kind of want a Messiah, but my point is that like light and dark units are going to be something that you really need to think about moving forward, because you can slot them everywhere. I mean, you want just like, if we think about moving, like it's all about speed at this point, and they're going to release new harder stages of each boss, which is going to push us further. But like my goal right now is to just, so the first thing I want to do is get these two characters, this one, so Gray, and then I'm going to do Ling Luo. That's going to be, those are my two next like projects to work on. And then I'm going to go into Doki Doki, right? And then after that, I'm going to make sure that my Leon and my Hell Kid, so I can go, oh, no, sorry, not Leon and Hell Kid. Then my Rose is decent. I will have Ling Luo. But then I also have Heinrich. I have Lily. So when I'm moving into Aurora, I can do that relatively easily. Freya kind of takes a back seat there because she's not going to be that good. So I'm kind of hesitant to raise my Freya because I have Lily already and she'll be good in Aurora. So there's just a lot of things, moving parts that you have to think about. But it's like, it all comes down to your game plan. And I'm not worrying about PvP right now. I'm like, because in PvP, I'm getting demolished because people are, I think, rolling on their stats. They're getting better things. Because I think I'm relatively far ahead, but I am also making sure that I am moving in a way that allows me to play the long game rather than the short game. And that's also why I'm saving my summons. Because yes, I do have Freya. Could I summon a ton for Messiah? Sure. But we don't also know how they're going to release light and dark characters moving forward. We also don't know how they're going to kind of, like, maybe in the future they might put like off rate in these banners. Who knows what they're going to do, right? And so for me personally, I am just going to wait. I'm going to wait and see what they do, because my account is operating. Ooh, did I get to 1 win loss? Play again. And I'm just going to wait and see what they do. I don't think there is any rush right now moving forward. And I think if you as a person need to think about like what character, like they're going to throw, I think one of the things they're going to do is they're going to throw really good characters at you. And they're going to say, oh my God, this character is so good. You should pull for this character. But then it's just like, do you need to? Is that what your intention is? Like, one of the things that you have to be so careful with is, oh, hey, you're going to pull for this new DPS character that's amazing in PvP. But here's the kicker. If you're not doing Teramaton Inferno, the character's useless to you. Because then gear will destroy you in PvP, because I could have my Gray, who's like, if this new character, whoever this new character is just phenomenal and so good, but then your other characters aren't built up, then you're going to run into, it doesn't matter how good this character is, because you're not going to use them to their full potential. So then it really comes back down to worry about progressing first and then worry about the characters. Because the characters, if you don't have all of these things to utilize their abilities at the fullest, their equipment that maxes them, you don't have, like, for instance, I go to here, right? Like, if I didn't have this shell I'm still working on it. And I still even get that to, I'm thinking I need to move that onslaught to Keen, but we'll deal with it later. But I just wanted the Swift Rush right now. But this thing is giving her so many stats that it's just like, okay, great. So it's like a 35 speed. The same thing with Heinrich right here. I got 35 speed. I'm working on Hellkid, but like, notice this is 8 less speed because I'm using the black flag instead of the mythic ones, right? Because I'm just farming to get the weekly or the 7-day thing, so I can get Ling Luo tomorrow. All of this is to say, get the equipment and get your characters built before you start worrying about new characters, because then you can just transfer equipment over. And also it really depends on, are those new characters helping you with PvE? Because PvP is designed in a way that if you're not farming PvE well, your PvP will fall. Like, it doesn't matter how good of the character you have. If the other team goes before you and your characters are dead before you even get a move, then it doesn't matter if you have a character that is, you know, god of the game, because they're dead, right? So just think about that moving forward. And again, if you think I'm wrong, by all means, tell me I'm wrong. Otherwise than that, remember to fail. First attempt in learning. Have a great day.